In this next exercise, we are going to play with drawing pie charts. Alright, so I'm starting again with my basic template program for Java GFX. And I'm going to start by changing its name. So we are going to use PieCharts. Seems appropriate. I'm going to change the name of the class. And I'm going to change the title of my stage PieCharts. Okay. So always, every time you do something simple that should not lead to a bug, then compile to make sure you didn't make a typo. And even, why not, run it. Okay, so PieCharts, there we go, empty everything. That's fine. So what we're going to do here, we are going to just learn to use the arc object. So we are going to create a bunch of arcs, right? The exercise tells you need 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Okay, and then we are going to put some text here to describe, what they correspond to, and this is just going to be drawing everything by hand, pretty much in a sequence. So let's start by establishing the pattern for our first arc. Okay, so I'm going to have an arc A1, new arc. And then you need to refer to the documentation immediately, okay? Because you need to know how you're going to create that arc. So we specify the center coordinates. So these are going to be the same for every single arc we're going to create. That's what's going to allow us to have actually a pie chart. Otherwise, the arcs would be all over the place on inside of our arc pane, okay? The radius X and Y, we are going to keep those to the same. So that's going to allow us to have a pie chart that has the same radius all around. So it's going to, otherwise it's going to look a little bit like a piece of the pie is coming out. The start angle, well, for our first piece of pie, we're going to start at angle 0, okay, which is here. Then we are going to have a length, which is pretty much the angle that's going to cover, that is proportional to the percentage represented by that category that we are trying to represent with that pie chart. Okay, so let's go back to the code. So we have an ID now of the parameters that we need. So let's decide on the size for our for our scene. So I'm going to hard code it here. And then we are going to, based on the side, we are going to say that we want our arc to be in the middle. Okay, in the middle of the pane. We are going to set a radius that is the same for x-axis and y-axis. We're going to use 80. So it's going to kind of fill nicely our pane. And then we are going to say the start angle is 0 for the first slice of our pie chart. And then the actual length, okay, is going to be 360, and I think the first one is supposed to represent 20%, okay? So we are going to use 0.2, 20%. And then we just have to set, the fill color, the type of the arc, the characteristic of the arc. Okay, so this is going to be relatively easy. A1.set fill color so the first one is going to be red. A1.set type arc type. There we go. We are going to use a round arc type. Okay, so again, back to the documentation, we want this shape here. We want to fill it actually, all right, as is common in PieCharts. So we have already a first arc here that we can draw in our pane. So now we need to add it. So the classic way to add objects to a pane, okay, you call getChildren, you get a collection that tells you all of the objects that are actually in that pane, and then you add that element to it. All right, start to compile. So we're missing a few things here. All right, let's go back here. So we are missing the arc, obviously. We're going to miss everything that has to do with drawing on the screen actually. So let's go ahead and add in bulk javafx.scene.shape.arc. Okay, and we are going to also need archetype, which we used in our code. What else? We are using colors, so import javafx.scene.paint.color. All right. So we should be good here. Let's see. Let's reindent, compile. Okay, and let's run it. Not too bad. Okay, so we have our first pie chart actually here in the drawing. Okay, so we are going to do the same thing now for the other different pie charts that we are instructed to create. So we are going to simply call them A2, A2, A2. Okay, the color is going to change every time. So the second color will be blue. And more importantly, we are going to have to position those things so that they come one after the other. Okay, tell you what, we are going to use a double sort equals 0 and a double and equal, and in this case it's going to be 360 times 0.2. Okay, so I'm using variables so that I don't have to, well, I kind of use the underlying logic, you know, to update my different arcs. So this one is going to start at a different coordinate. Okay, it's going to start where the previous one ended. That's the first thing. So that's why I wanted to use that, so that I would not actually have to write, you know, the coordinates, the formula for the coordinate over and over and over and over. And really what is called end here, what I called end, I should have called length actually, but that's okay. I'm going to use end for now. End equal, it tells me pretty much where I want my thing to end. This is going to be added to start actually, so it's really more length than end. So let's fix that, because that's kind of stupid to use a bad name. It's even worse when you use a bad name and you know that you are using a bad name for a variable. It's like, that's unforgivable, right? So there we go. So I have my start and I have my length, start length. Okay, sounds pretty good. Let's see if that pans out how we think it's going to pan out. So of course I left end somewhere. There we go. So that was len here. Okay. Okay, very good. So let's run that. And right now we don't have exactly what we want. Okay, so we forgot to, yes, we forgot to add it, of course. So let's go back here, and I'm going to use add all here. So add all works the same way, but it allows you to have a variable number of parameters. So it allows you to pass several arguments and an undefined number of arguments, as many as you need. Okay, let's compile. Let's run it. Ah, that looks better. Okay, so I have my second slice of pie in my pie chart. Let's keep moving. So the first one was supposed to represent projects. The second one was supposed to represent quizzes at 10%, right? Let me see. Yes, it doesn't look like we did 10% for here. We did the same length. So we did 0.2. So that was not actually what we were instructed to do. So let's fix it real quick. There we go. That's a lot better. So the first is 20%, the second is 10%. That's a lot better. And then the next item is going to be green. It's going to represent midterms, and it's going to represent 30%. So a little bit of cut and paste oriented programming here. Arc, this is going to be arc number 3. Okay. And I'm going to make it start at, let's see, well, I need to actually take what I ended up with. So start equal start of the previous one plus the length. Okay, and then my length is supposed to be 30%, so it's going to be 3. I renamed arc A3. I need to change the color. The color is going to be green. Anything else should be okay. And I need, of course, to not do what I did the previous time, which is forget to add it. All right, let's see. Looking good. All right, let's keep going and let's keep adding those few more elements that we need to add. You're going to notice here that we are doing always the same thing. So let's try again to refactor our code a bit before we move on to the next arc, okay? Let's say I have an arc array, and I'm going to call it arcs, appropriate enough, new arc, and okay, how many do I need? So far I'm using 1, 2, 3, so I'm going to just refactor my code, okay? I'm not adding anything, I'm just, you know, saying pretty much that I want to write it cleanly. So here, I'm going to use arcs index 0, create my arcs index 0. If we have a series of variables and they are all of the same type, might as well put them into an array. That's what arrays are meant to do. So arcs index 1, arcs index 1, arcs index 1, and then the last one, arcs index 2, arcs index 2, arcs index 2. Okay, so that makes more sense. We have our array, we have all of our things. Let's see if we were able to get away with that real quick. Nope, we forgot to modify this here. So for arc A in arcs. So since I have everything in a nifty little array, why not take advantage of that? Okay, arcs index, A. Going back to the old school index. There we go. Now let's see if we have the same result. Yes, we have refactored our code. We have made it hopefully a little bit better without actually modifying any of the feature that we're offering. So now we're going to move forward. We're going to go, so what was that? That was midterm in green, that was worth 30%. So the fourth arc is going to be the finals that are worth 40%. So let's cut and paste that again. So 40% this time. There we go. The color was, what did I say? It was, I didn't say anything. It was supposed to be orange for the finals. We still want a round arc, and now we have one more arc to display. Oh, little problem here, running PieChart. Let's scroll down. So sometimes those error messages with JavaFX are a little hard to know because you go deep into the framework itself. Child node is null, parent. So null pointer exception. We have something that's null and we try to add it, for example, to our pane or something like that. So let's double check here what we have going on. We have arcs. We have 4 arcs, 1, 2, 3, 4. We just didn't modify the index here. Okay. A lot better. And there we go. We have our final pie chart. So now we are asked to also add some text. Okay. So we are going to do things the same way. We are going to say I need text objects. I'm going to call it text. And I'm going to create an array of them. So I need as many text objects as I have pie slices in my pie chart. And I'm going to create pretty much them all here in that text array. So I'm going to do text 0 equal new text object. So I have to play a little bit with the coordinate to display them exactly how the exercise wants me to display them. So you'll have to do a little bit of hit and miss there to place them exactly where you want them on the screen. Okay, I'm going to use some default coordinates here that I know work pretty well. Project 20%. So this is what I'm instructed to display for this guy here. And then I'm going to do the same for the 4 texts. There we go. So this is going to be text 1, 2, and 3. And let's start with the names, okay. The second one is quiz, and it's worth 10%. The next one is midterm. The midterm is worth 30%. The last one is final, right? Yeah, final at 40%. Now, again, the coordinates, the only way to set them right is to play with them. As I said, I'm cheating here a little bit. I'm using something that I know is going to not look too bad to start off with. Pretty. 80 and 15 for the quiz, so feel free to use the same things, okay? 5 and 100 for the midterm, and then for the final 180, 180. There we go. So we have those 4 text objects, and now we need to, of course, add them as well. Okay, so we can do the same type of dealio here, where we are going to say I want all the text objects from the text plural array, and I'm going to add them run to my pane the same way I added the arcs. Well, let's see if that compiles well. Of course we need text, yes, okay, so we need to add here import javafx.scene.text.class text. And I have a little typo here. I'm going to fix that. Oops. There we go. Saving, recompiling, and running this. And there we go. Final result. We have something that looks actually as like what was expected of us from the exercise in the textbook.